let's go out to Dove Valley right now.
Oh, sure.
And talk to Denver Post beat writer, covers the Denver Broncos, Troy Renck. Hey, Troy, how you doing? Great.
Good, guys. How are you?
So Woody thinks Peyton Manning shouldn't play on Monday night. What do you think?
He'll be fine. I mean, he's dealt with that thigh injury that he sustained from dehydration in the Chargers game. I talked to Demaryius Thomas about him. He said he looked sharp. We saw Peyton in the open viewing period today, Les, and he was throwing the ball well. I mean, there's no concern. Now, I guess if you wanted to sit him, you could. I cannot see any scenario when they do that. He's moving. He's progressing nicely. There's no indication that he would be limited right now.
Troy, I'm going to send you a text, Troy, of why this game means absolutely nothing. And I've already explained it to Les, and I'll explain it to you. There's no way they can be anything but the number 2 seed if they beat Oakland. Did you hear what I said?
So I heard you. So you were going to send me a text on it or a tweet? I had lost the last part there.
I'm going to send you a text and explain to you why this game is meaningless and Peyton shouldn't play, because if the Broncos beat Oakland, nobody else can be the number 2 seed.
So he's advocating that Peyton sits down because the game doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, I understand that argument. And if Peyton were, if there was a question whether he would play, I think that would be taken into consideration. I just think if you go back through his history, any time that Manning's been on a team where they rested players, it hasn't gone particularly well. I mean, if the most he might rest would be a half. Certainly next week at Oakland would set up for that type of situation. I just can't see on Monday night, unless Peyton's thigh gets worse or he, becomes ill again, I can't see him sitting out a primetime game. Because for me, Woody, here's the counter argument. That game at Cincinnati, in the cold, on the road, primetime, hostile crowd, that's a great preview of what you would face in New England. It's better to get over those kind of mental issues there than to hold him out. I just don't see a scenario where they hold him out unless they feel like he's compromised enough where he'd be risking
you and
injury.
I go on the road together. They know what it's like to play in New England in the cold, at night, in front of a hostile crowd. So that's my comment and response. I do have an important question for you. Turning to the other side of the field for the Broncos, with both Brandon Marshall and Danny Trevathan out, how do you think that's going to play out until Brandon Marshall can come back?
Well, losing Brandon Marshall's huge. I mean, Danny Trevathan being gone hurts, but he didn't really play this entire season. And so, talking to players, Brandon Marshall's absence will be felt. He's played a Pro Bowl. He's had a Pro Bowl caliber season, leads the team in tackles by a wide margin. So how will they address that, Woody? I think it's going to be a combination of guys. Todd Davis, the kid they claimed off waivers from Sacramento State a month ago. They claimed him from the Saints. Look for him to be in there a good chunk and share time with Corey Nelson. I think you could see a little bit of Lamine Barrow, but the guess now is that you're going to see Corey Nelson, the rookie from Oklahoma, and Todd Davis getting the bulk of the snaps. Especially, they both cover well. The issue will be, who plays more will probably depend on who defends the run better between the two of them. Davis sets up to defend the run a little better, so if I have to guess right here on Friday, that Davis will probably play 60% of the snaps compared to 35% for Nelson and maybe 5% for
Hey, Troy,
Barrow.
two-part question. Number one is Ronnie Hillman ready to go yet? And number two, because Cincinnati is a pretty good pass defense and not a very good run defense, do you expect to see a lot of C.J. Anderson and Juwan Thompson? And if Ronnie Hillman is healthy, Ronnie Hillman?
Now, I don't expect to see Hillman because of the turf. He's dealing with a toe injury, and I would be surprised if his first game back is on turf at night in the cold. I mean, they've had issues when they bring guys back. Monte Ball lasted all of, 2 series, re-injured his groin. He's out for the year. Danny Trevathan comes back, re-injures himself twice. There's some bad luck involved, but also you have to do some strategic planning here. A guy with a foot injury, Les, I wouldn't bring him back on turf, and they don't really, I don't want to say they don't need him, but they really don't need him for this game. Certainly, I would think Hillman, the expectation is Hillman comes back for the Oakland game next week. You're going to see a heavy dose of C.J. Anderson and Juwan Thompson. Juwan Thompson practiced on a limited basis today. He's dealing with knee. There's the mower. Hi, mower. He's dealing with knee and hip issues. But C.J. Anderson, it was funny, Adam Gase, we asked him, are you concerned at all with the workload that C.J. Anderson's had? And he's like, well, he basically didn't play for a year and a half, so no, I'm not. So don't look for him to decrease the workload on C.J. Anderson. But you're right, Les. The Bengals used to be a really good run-stopping team. This year they've been awful. That's the one area that where you think the Broncos can exploit.
Troy, 2 questions now for you, like he did, A and B. Number one is,
Are you really keeping track?
well, you
Do
had
we
a
have to have
part.
the same
you
number
had
of
a part-
questions?
No, you had a part A and a part B. I got
Okay.
I got
don't
a
get-
part.
you can have the next
I
5
got
questions.
A part,
I don't
I got
care.
a part A and a part B. One of these is kind of personal. Troy and I were flying back, and he said he was looking for a Sunday story. I wonder if you found a Sunday story that you're working on that would be what you think is one of the key issues in this game with Cincinnati. And part B is on Fridays, the Broncos feed the media. And 1 week it'll be Chick-fil-A,
Oh,
the
yeah,
next
we missed out.
What is today's menu? So that's part B.
Yeah, you guys have been on the air all of what, like 4 days, and you're already like a married couple. It's impressive. To answer the question first, I did find a Sunday story. It's about the Rockies and their lack of movement. No, it's the Sunday story is, and it's actually going to run Monday because it's a Monday night game, Woody. But it is on the defensive line. What makes this defensive line special? And I'm going to make a statistical argument why this defensive line deserves to be in the conversation among Denver's all-time best. Going back to the '77 Crush team to the 2 Super Bowl champion teams, how do they compare with those? And statistically, they compare favorably. Now, it's a different game than it was in the '70s, but it compares favorably. The pizza was the lunch today, and there goes the mower again. And to no one's surprise, the pizza was Papa John's. I'm still trying to figure out why that was, but to no one's surprise, it was Papa John's. That's the first time I believe we had pizza. We've had Panera, we've had Illegal Pete's, we've had Noodles and Company. Yeah, they do a really good job here on Fridays of feeding us. Chick-fil-A. I think I could have Chick-fil-A.
Troy,
And
are
Papa
you being
John's.
paid
Every
for
day of
mentioning
my
all
life.
of these companies? I mean, what's the deal here?
Well, I asked
mean,
you. I asked you. Yeah.
I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you guys out to get more sponsors. It's just a way. I'm just greasing the rails, if you will, Les. That's radio talk. That's TV talk in the biz there, Les.
I've got to ask one more important question, and you sort of went in that range a little bit. Troy covered Major League Baseball for, 15 years or so?
and a great beat writer for baseball. One of the best in the country.
baseball writers of all time. Troy, the latest speculation I've gotten, and I've gotten it from a real good source, is that the Oakland A's are making a move for Troy Tulowitzki. What would you think about a deal maybe involving some of the prospects that the A's have gotten in all of these 8 trades that they've made of recent?
That would be an interesting move by the A's. It would help make their offseason make a lot more sense because they basically junked all of their players from Josh Donaldson to Norris. The A's have young pitching, Woody. They have 4th, 5th type starters, 3rd starters. I can't imagine they'd give up Sonny Gray or someone of that ilk, but they have young pitching in the farm system, and they have guys that you would want in an. You look at the player like the infielders they've had in the past, the young guys. They have enough young guys probably to pull that off. It would surprise me if there wouldn't be some money concessions made though, because Tulo's got $116.5 million remaining. But the Rockies, I mean, they've made a dangerous
Watch out for the mower.
stall pattern. Hey, there you go. There goes the mower. Next time we're going to interview that guy. I think, and that's a Toro as we're discussing name brands. Toro, great for all lawns and all seasons. But I would think, Woody, the best fit for me would be the Mets right now because they have young pitching that they could move. And I'm not talking Harvey. I'm not talking in those terms, but they have young pitching they could move. The A's would make some sense, and they could definitely. Billy Beane has a history of trading with the Rockies, and they have a good relationship. But the Rockies have run a dangerous pattern here of sitting on their hands to where you just dry the market out. They and the Reds are the only two National League teams for me that have shown no direction this offseason. I mean, the Reds dumped some salary by moving Latos and Alfredo Simon, but the Rockies have done nothing. And by doing nothing, they're getting worse because the Padres, while it's been a dervish of moves, they still get Myers, Kemp, and Upton
And Derek
in the outfield.
Norris
No matter
at
how that
catch.
works out, and Derek Norris, they're a much more interesting team because you can be a bad pitching team and pitch well in San Diego. Now they have a little bit of offense on paper. So why the Rockies aren't trying to aggressively move Justin Morneau, Willeen Rosario, and Tulo and/or Cargo, I have no idea. Maybe they are, but they have got to move. You're better off cutting down and rebuilding around younger players than trying to stay at 70 to 75 wins with guys that it just seems like a limited future, especially Rosario and Morneau. I would have traded
Troy,
those guys weeks
I want to
ago.
take this full circle. By the way, I love watching you talk baseball with goalposts over your shoulder. I want to take it back full circle to Peyton Manning. This has been a point of contention with Woody and I for the last couple of days now. If John Elway or John Fox went to Peyton Manning, a healthy Peyton Manning, and said, we don't want you to play Monday night in Cincinnati in prime time, even though there's a lot at stake still, what do you think Peyton Manning would say?
Well, they just have to sit him. I think he would argue against it. I think he would adamantly say that, no, I want to play, because until the year he got hurt, he basically played 99% of the snaps till the season he missed because of the neck issue. So he's the Cal Ripken of quarterbacks. It's just against his nature, his DNA, to say, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me. Remember when they set out, and the Colts set out that one year and they were trying to figure out if it was better to sit out, and they played horribly, and Manning was adamantly against that. It's just not in his DNA to accept, oh yeah, rest is better for me. Now, again, unless he's more hurt than we realize, or if he's compromised and knows that by playing on Monday, he's jeopardizing the playoffs. That's a different scenario. We have no indication that that's the case. None at all. That they've been limited him in the last 3 to 4 weeks of practice. They limit him 1 day a week. This week really isn't any different other than the fact he's actually on the injury report. So to answer your question, Les, I think he would fight it, but ultimately it would be their decision. I just don't think he would be happy. He's never happy when he's not playing. I just don't see him saying, yeah, that makes sense.
If Peyton ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. We got to keep that guy happy. Troy, thanks a lot. That's Troy Renck, Broncos beat reporter for the Denver Post out at Dove.